To see you. Partly to mostly cloudy out there for tonight. Some snow developing during the early morning hours, maybe an inch by morning, low temperature, low 20s. Any snow ends early Friday morning, and then some light snow showers or flurries for the afternoon, high temperature about 32. And it's cloudy on Saturday. During the afternoon, some steadier, light to moderate snow developing with a high near 20, and there's going to be several inches of snow Saturday night and Sunday. The snow may be moderate to heavy. This is meteorologist Gary Best.
Right now, 29 degrees.
Friday! Good morning, America. It's Friday.
Jonathan Mark, Fridays at 8, here on AM 1480 WLEA.
Oh, yeah. Friday, always the best time of the year, no matter when it occurs. And now, Friday is an absolutely great time of year. Now, where were we last Friday at this time? Let me see. Last Friday at this time, the government was still in a partial shutdown. And neither side would budge. Nothing's been done. Don't you think everyone concerned would be a little embarrassed by now? I mean, really? The House and the Senate still get their salaries, by the way, and Trump really doesn't need a salary, and so it goes. What a mess. You know, there was a story in this past Sunday's edition of The Spectator, and it grabbed my attention, and it's held it all week long. First of all, I think the word hero is overused these days. It's been watered down to where many times anyone who performs an act of kindness, essentially an act of a good Samaritan, is deemed a hero. And while that act may be very good and noteworthy, I think you have to go a long way before it becomes heroic. The definition of hero varies depending on what sources you access, but I define hero as someone who does something for the greater good outside of themselves at the risk of life and limb. And that is the key, because I think without that risk, that act may be kind and noteworthy, but it's not heroic. Cops are heroic. Even the simplest traffic stop could go south real quick. As the saying goes, you never know who or what you're dealing with, right? And how about firefighters? They will enter a burning structure to save people's lives. There's heroism. Normally you think there's a burning structure, I think I'm going the other way. But no, they will enter a burning structure. And then there's the military, which kind of slowly brings me to my point. There was a story by Jason Jordan on page 2 in last Sunday's Spectator, and it told of the 100th birthday party held at JC's Cafe right here in Hornell of Mr. William Eck of Hartsville, who was a member of Darby's Rangers. Now, I've always had an interest in military history, and when I was 12 or 13 years old, I read a book about the D-Day invasion of Normandy in northern France in World War II. And I remember reading about Darby's Rangers, a 2nd Ranger Battalion, and how they took out the big German guns at Point du Hoc. That was the highest point between Omaha Beach and Utah Beach, which is where the American forces landed during that invasion. And it was the mission of Darby's Rangers to land before the main force, scale those 100-foot cliffs, and take out those guns, which would have done a tremendous amount of damage to the incoming ships, boats, and men. Those guns were 155 millimeters, and they could fire a shell 20,000 feet, or 20,000 yards, which is approximately 4 miles. And these guys, 225 of them, landed on the beach on the early morning of June 6, 1944, and they scaled those sheer 100-foot cliffs with ropes under heavy enemy gunfire, rifle fire, machine gun fire, including baskets of hand grenades being dropped on them. One hand grenade will do a tremendous amount of damage, but baskets of them? Now, their ropes were cut, but they did reach the top, and they took out those guns. Which, by the way, this is kind of interesting, those guns were approximately 600 yards south of where the Rangers were told they were. So after all that, they had to fight their way another 600 yards with German soldiers firing at them from all directions. But they did accomplish their mission. Darby's Rangers were one of the most famous outfits ever in our entire military history. And Mr. Eck of Hartsville was a member of that outfit and a part of that action. Now, was that heroism? You bet. And now, 75 years after that action, Mr. Eck lives a quiet life right here. I mean, this is history right here At 100, he must be one of the last surviving members of Darby's Rangers. And that, I think, should be a national story. Some kind of a feature or something. Now, does Mr. Eck deserve our admiration or respect? Absolutely. You know, in the article, it notes that before World War II, Mr. Eck worked for a time digging tunnels through the Catskill Mountains that helped bring water from a reservoir there to New York City. So let's see, in his early life, he moved mountains, or pretty much the equivalent, digging tunnels through them, and several years later, he scaled 100-foot cliffs to help win World War II. And that's quite a life. Now, the article notes he walks with the aid of a walker these days. Well, maybe physically, he needs a walker. But from the article, I don't think he needs one mentally or spiritually. And from his photograph, which I have right here in front of me in the article, he doesn't appear to be a day over 80. I hope you have the edition of The Spectator in your house still. Take a look at it. It's on page 2. And it seems to me he still has it. In fact, the article states that Mr. Eck attributes his longevity to, quote, and this is great, this really got my attention too, it attributes his longevity to, quote, running around with a lot of wild women when I was younger and drinking a lot of beer. Yep, well, Mr. Eck, you have my admiration and respect, and Lord love you. Now, a few notes here. Both of Mr. Eck's legs were injured in the action. And out of the 225 men who landed on June 6th, 190 made it up that cliff. And 2 days later, only 90 were left. And the rest were either killed or wounded and out of action. How about those odds? And this kind of interesting note, too. They were supposed to have backup. So they landed, they were going to climb those cliffs, and they were going to have backup. But anybody who's been in the military knows that things happen. So they didn't have any backup. So once they got to the top and were expecting somebody to come for them, to relieve them or something, there wasn't anybody there. Because, as I said, things happened, so they were all by themselves. Now, that was in 1944, 75 years ago this year. And in one sense, it's a very long time ago. But think of this. In the 1950s, World War II seemed like it happened only last week, at least for those who were there. It was fresh. And then came the 1960s, and things had changed quite a bit. The so-called baby boomers, I don't like that word at all, but there it is. The so-called baby boomers were rejecting everything their parents stood for. But for World War II veterans, they were pretty much in the prime of their working lives, and they kept on. And then came the 70s, and World War II had entirely faded in the rearview mirror, and then the 80s. And the veterans now had grandchildren or great-grandchildren, and many of them were retired. And then came the 90s, and many of those veterans were passing. And then the 2000-aughts, and now it's 2019. And let's face it, the zeitgeist ain't what it used to be. It's an entirely different world. But we should remember that they really were in World War II and did amazing things, and among them, Mr. William Eck of Hartsville. That's truly an amazing story. That guy is history. And I've never met the man, and I hope to at some point, maybe next birthday. I'll stop down at JC's Cafe and meet Mr. William Eck. Well, I was on my way home from Alfred Wednesday on an entirely different subject here. I was coming home from Alfred Wednesday. I find myself in Alfred a lot these days. I live in greater metropolitan Almond, that bustling hub of industry and commerce. And from Alfred, you drive down Route 244 through Alfred Station and make a left at that flashing light at the intersection of 244 and 21. Well, I don't like that corner at all. Anyway, I found myself at that light, ready to make a left-hand turn behind a little car with a bumper sticker. And on that bumper sticker was one word, resist. Resist, R-E-S-I-S-T. Now, the message, heartfelt as it must be, was kind of ambiguous. I mean, here I am sitting there being advised to resist, and this was in all caps, all capital letters. But there were no specifics. Precisely, what should I be resisting? Temptation? The urge? Everything? Man, that'd be tiring, resisting everything. So unfortunately, there's no room on a bumper sticker for a manifesto or bullet points or anything else, so I guess I'll never know. I'll see if I can find out. Resist. What in the world would you resist? I don't know. But the car was driven by a young lady, and she felt strongly enough about something to put a resist sticker on her bumper. I don't know. Anyway, let me see. What else is going on this week? Yeah, there was a science-related item. I'm interested in everything. Everything has my attention. There were 2 science-related items this week. And one, astronomers are trying to figure out why the gigantic black hole at the center of our galaxy is getting larger. It's already, according to the article, 4 million times the mass of our sun. And it keeps getting larger. And scientists don't know why. Well, my guess is, that's right, are you ready? Man-made global warming. It's already reached the center of our galaxy, and it's only getting worse. And it's all our fault. Frankly, I'm stumped. I have no idea. Then, there was an article, I don't remember where I found it, here somewhere, but there's a crop circle of ice forming on a river somewhere in Maine. You've seen that? It's a big, big circle in the middle of this river. It's a large circle of ice, and it's expanding. And it's funny because meteorologists say it's not the most unusual thing ever. It happens when water temperature and speed and air temperature are just right. So my question is, if it's not that unusual, how come it wound up in the news? Who knows? Well, we have lots more to talk about here. Let me see here. What else is in the news? Oh, what's this? Oh, we're going to take a break. Okay, we'll be back.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
Checking the night in the NBA, the Raptors get by the Suns 111-109. Toronto at 34-13 reclaims the top record in the NBA. They're a half game up on idle Milwaukee. The Nuggets beat up on the Bulls 135-105. Denver moves a half game back of idle Golden State in the race for the top record in the West. Denver now 30-14 on the season. The Lakers surprised the Thunder in Oklahoma City 138-128 in overtime. LA still playing without injured star LeBron James. Outscored Oklahoma City 16-6 in the extra period. 76ers no trouble beating the Pacers on the road 120-96. Hornets over the Kings 114-95. And in a game played in London, England, the Wizards edged the Knicks 101-100. Washington won the game on a goaltending call with 0.4 of a second to play. Top 25 college basketball, we had 2 teams in the top 10 in action. They both won. Number 5 Gonzaga rolled over Loyola Marymount 73-55, and number 6 Michigan State won at Nebraska 70-64.
From the Fox Business Network, Netflix reported a strong quarter. It added 8.8 million paid subscribers, more than expected, but Netflix has been spending on new programming. It made more money, but Wall Street was expecting even stronger earnings from Netflix. Its shares rallied earlier in the week when Netflix raised prices for subscribers. Former Nissan chairman Carlos Ghosn has been told he must remain in a jail in Japan until at least March. Ghosn's attorneys unsuccessfully challenged the decision to deny his release on bail. Tesla says it will end its referral program effective February 1st. It allowed owners to refer a friend and both would receive perks. The Dow closed up 162 points yesterday. The Nasdaq added 49 and the S&P was up 19. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Jenny Cosola.
When weather hits, the right wiper blades make all the difference. That's when the Michelin Man is on your side, helping you see better and drive safer with new Michelin Premium Wiper Blades. Designed with exclusive SmartFlex technology or frameless beam design, Michelin blades flex to the curve of your windshield, giving you unparalleled, streak-free, long-lasting, all-season performance. So when the going gets tough, be ready with Michelin Premium Wiper Blades. It's a difference you can see. Available at Walmart, Pep Boys, Amazon, and other fine retailers.
Hello, this is Brian O'Donovan, President and CEO of St. James Hospital. I want to update you on all the great things that are happening here.
The big news is our new medical office building. Almost all outpatient services are now located there. The hospital at 411 Canisteo Street has the emergency room, inpatient care, and full imaging and lab. The new hospital will open in early 2020. Check our new website for updates.
I welcome your feedback. Please don't hesitate to contact me.
Rob, good morning.
Good morning, Jonathan. How are you this morning, sir?
Well, very good. What's the weather like here?
Well, it depends. It looks like it's going to get kind of stormy. You ready for that?
No, not really. No.
Oh, well, it's January in central New York. Come on.
That's right.
This goes with
we
the
love
territory.
it. Love pain here. That's fine.
That's why you live there, right?
That's right. That's right.
How's it looking, Rob?
It's looking kind of stormy, Brian. We've got a system that went through California earlier this week, produced quite a bit of snow, a lot of rain along the California coast, some high winds as well. It's going to blow up in the central part of the country today and then track south of the region. Looks like it's going to be able to produce some pretty decent snowfall across the area by about midday tomorrow through about Sunday. National Weather Service now has the area under a winter storm warning from noon Saturday through 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon. That's when the worst of the storm is expected. Now today we'll see lots of cloudiness. There'll be some sporadic snow showers and flurries. They're going to be about 30 to 35 today. Sunrise earlier this morning was at 7:35. The sun will set tonight at 5:37. We're going to be cloudy tonight. Couple of flurries. Keep that in mind if you're headed out. Overnight lows 15 to 20. If you need to get something done tomorrow before the snow, do it in the morning. We'll see snow by around noontime. We're 20 to 25. Snow possibly heavy at times tomorrow night, 10 above. Snow will taper off to flurries on Sunday. It'll become windy, so they'll be blowing and drifting. High Sunday, 10 to 15. I think we'll probably have a daytime high close to 10 above on Monday with clouds and some gusty winds. Snowfall easily looks like this storm could produce 6 inches, and we could see maybe as much as a foot in some spots by the time it's done.
Wow, I can barely wait.
I bet you can. I bet you're going to be waiting longer for the start of spring.
It should be a fun weekend. Thanks, Rob, I guess.
You got it, Jonathan.
Bye.
Thanks.
Start your next renovation, vacation, or other big project with a Surview Credit Union home equity loan. Annual percentage rates start at just 3.99%. You could even score up to 1% off the current rate just for having other Surview Credit Union products or services. Visit SurviewCU.com or call 1-800-443-0663 for more information or to get your loan started today. Membership eligibility required. Rate reduction amount depends on number of qualified products or services. Some applicants may not qualify for some products or services. Loans subject to credit approval. Rate subject to change. Federally insured by NCUA. Surview Credit Union is an equal housing lender.
When you find something good, when you find something good, when you find something good, pass it on. Pass it on, it's a tradition. Pass it on.
And there we are, back we are. Yeah, you've heard this. Oh, the State Senate and Assembly have now approved the GENDA Act, G-E-N-D-A. That was earlier this week. Now, the GENDA or Gender Act is officially the Gender Identity and Expression Non-Discrimination Act. A little lengthy, but that's what it's called. And this prohibits businesses or companies from discriminating against people on the basis of their gender identity. And that's really a good thing, I guess. I mean, everybody's different. That's cool. Discrimination is a bad thing. What this also means is that public buildings must now allow anyone to use any restroom or locker room they so choose. And this could become interesting, I guess would be a good word. And for those of you who think this is kind of weird, may I remind you that there is a precedent. Oh yes, there is, right at the beginning of one of our country's foundational documents, the Declaration of Independence, as written by Thomas Jefferson. He wrote, I don't have the words in front of me, but he wrote, we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of whatever bathroom or locker room we so choose on any day, maybe one in the morning and another in the afternoon. It depends on how we feel. It all depends. So this is a long overdue step forward for New York State, according to Governor Cuomo, who apparently is pretty excited about it. And if you think that's kind of complicated, consider New York City. And depending on what source you want, you can look this up in any old source you want to. New York City now recognizes 31 genders. not 2 or 3 or 4 if you really want to stretch it, but there are 31 genders. And that number might be growing even as we speak. I'm not making this up, by the way. You can check it out in any number of places. So now, I could read you a list of all these genders, but I'm not going to because I just really don't feel like it. You can look it up. And further, any business in New York City which refuses to address a person by their chosen gender pronoun can be fined, again, I'm not making this up, can be fined up to $250,000. So anybody who owns a business in New York City had got to be very, very careful. I mean, really, really careful. $250,000. And then you have to memorize 31 genders or 31 gender identities or something. Anyway, it gets pretty complicated. And further, any company or business which so transgresses and does not address this person by their chosen gender identity thing is urged to apologize immediately. I am not making this up. So there we go. 31 genders and counting in New York City, and we're all doing good. Okay, let me see. What else have we here? Oh, yeah, the governor wants to legalize the recreational use of marijuana, which is a reversal of what he said a couple of years ago when he thought it was a bad idea. Now he thinks it's a good idea. I suppose the wind shifted or something. Frankly, I don't smoke this stuff. I don't know why you'd want to. Life is kind of strange enough as it is, but a lot of people do. And anyway, alcohol is legal. So, let me see, alcohol legal, recreational use of marijuana legal, so we'd wind up with a lot of people driving drunk or stoned. Oh, wait a minute, that's what we have now. That's right. What am I worried about? Also, let me see another item here. Oh, yes. U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand announced Tuesday night on some obscure liberal commentator late-night TV show that she's interested in running for president in 2020. And if she does, I hope she stops with the up-talking. If you heard this thing Tuesday night, and if you listen to sound bites of her, she sounds like Kim Kardashian. What does she say Tuesday night? I'm running for president for all the young moms. That question at the end that goes up, either make a statement or ask a question. You can't do both. You're either saying something or you're asking me something. It gets kind of interesting. What else have we here? What a busy week we had. I mean, wow, let me see, we have that. We did that. We did that. Yeah, once again, if you want to read this article in last Sunday's paper about William Eck, I'm looking at this photograph of him, and the guy does not look 100 years old. He just does not look like he's 100. He looks like he's 75 or 80 years
Jon
old.
Stewart,
yeah.
Our morning man on Fun 92.1, went to see him at JC's Cafe, took a picture, we put it on our website and Facebook pages, and we got a lot of nice comments on it.
Oh, really?
And he said Mr. Eck was very funny. He said, somebody said to him, how does it feel, William, to be 100?
Yeah.
And he said, same as it did last year. That's what Jon Stewart said.
Wow. Man, more power to him. I am just, he has my admiration and respect, as I said. He's obviously a wonderful man, and he's doing really well. I guess, is that it? I guess that's it. Okay, let me see. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can by using old-fashioned email, and my email address is studio1227@frontiernet.net. And there you go. See you next Friday. Bye.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end